Hey everybody, are you ready for the episode today? I want to give first a shout out to the patrons who have supported the channel. I appreciate you guys for checking out my Patreon and joining up for $1 to read all my comics and scripts and stuff like that. That's very cool. Appreciate all those guys. And those of you who have subscribed to the channel as well as checked out some of my Amazon affiliate links, I appreciate all that. All that kind of support helps me provide these free episodes, these little things like that, and I just can't do it without y'all. So there you have it. We're ready for lesson 4, drawing the human form. This is probably where it gets fun for everybody. We start drawing hands and people and bodies and fabrics and all that kind of stuff. So let's get into it. We did composition last episode. We did the basics and all that kind of stuff. Now we're going into people. And if you're gonna illustrate, be an illustrator, guess what? You're gonna have to draw people. Almost always. So here we go. Now, the human figure. I love these things, you guys. I really love this. It's such a cool thing. It's just fun to like learn from these illustrators that I just adore. I got my sketchbook and I usually just will draw all the images as well, just to kind of like work on it. Well, let's just read a few little bits about the human figure. Don't give in to temptation and rush right on to attempt sketches filled with anatomical details. Meaning, the proportions, the basic construction is always the most important thing. Building that three-dimensional form is always more important than the details of the anatomy, okay? That will screw you up. And it happens all the time. It's like, it's not just with human figures, it's anything. You draw a car and you're worried about the damn grill of the BMW being just right. You know what? It's all wonky because you haven't built out the shape first. So don't get bogged down on the details when you need to build the shape first. So we're doing shapes, solid form. We're showing depth and thickness, okay? And of course, a good way to do that is look at three-dimensional models and statues and things like that. So one of the things that I really enjoyed learning from this lesson was drawing through things and really looking at things and drawing them through. Drawing them through meaning you're creating cylinders and blocks and three-dimensional shapes in space, and you draw through them, meaning you draw everything as though it's transparent and you can see it all through. And the reason why you do that is it just helps your mind wrap around the idea that this is three-dimensional. And then it'll help you also with your cross contours to give you that cross contour and give it that shape that you want. So it's important. It's a good way to kind of like get your mind thinking about building things through. Okay, here's a good example here. Drawing this man, they break it out into shapes, right? Into cylinders, modified cylinders, and notice they draw through, meaning you're drawing as though all these parts are around. You're drawing the back as well as the front, right? If that makes sense. Comment if it doesn't. Okay. They're talking about proportions, a 7 head versus an 8 head. You can kind of see a little bit of how things are different. In the ideal figure, the body's 8 times the height of the head. That's interesting. The ideal form is 8. In reality, it's 7. Ideal is 8. Now, what's fascinating too is that in comics, if I recall my Drawing the Marvel Way, comics, it's 9 head, I think, is the figure. So because in comics everything's exaggerated and even more perfected. So I think comics is 9-headed. Correct me if I'm wrong. We're talking about female and male. Women, as we know, are very different than men, despite maybe what people want to think. physically, there's some differences. There are fundamental differences between a woman's body and a man's body. Okay, I think we all can agree to that. And they're breaking it down. I'm talking about hip width, shoulder width, posture, where the buttocks is, the breasts, of course, all these different things. The Adam apple, just things are different, right? You can even look at that line. You can see how the legs are different. The calves are a little different. You know, the back is different. So the female's hips here. Look, this is a great example here. The upper thigh is clearly much thicker in the woman. The males have that long torso, and then the woman's really that just this little hip there. Men don't got it. Men just go straight, and then that's the quadriceps. Women have this like extra chunk right there. It's a good chunk. It's a chunk though. It's a good chunk. And here we're now talking about age too. So we're talking gender, then age. You know, as the human develops, the proportions are different. And so when we're talking about head heights, you know, going from a 5 to an 8. So kind of interesting. I mean, they really break this down. This is like, we're getting scientific here. I love this drawing. I thought this was really cool. I like this construction. I remember doing this when I worked on this. The idea of these two like glasses, right? Two glasses, and that's your waist. And that's how you kind of start building it out. And then you build out the bottom waist, or the bottom glass kind of is like the torso, the hip, and then the top is the top half. And then you see how it bends, right? These two things bend, and there's a lot of different ways to do it. I also had a book about using like a pillow or a sack of flour, and how that sack was the torso and how it could move around. And then the four corners of the sack were kind of where the appendages would go. So it's another way. There's a lot of different ways to kind of visualize, conceptualize the concept of the torso, which is quite complicated on how to draw it, especially when you're talking about foreshortening, things like that. It is complicated. And so that's just one way to kind of help understand it. Again, like the way showing that really the leg is just these cylinders, right? And then later on, we're going to put form on there. We'll be able to define the gastrocnemius and different muscles here. But for now, it's just, you know, kind of like a cylinder. Same with the arm. Hand is very different. Hand is not a cylinder. Hand is a series of wedges and blocks, something that like, Bridgman would say, right? Is that my Bridgman book? Yeah, the Bridgman book, which is, should we do Bridgman? Let me know. Again, I'm letting you guys determine what to talk about. If you guys want me to talk about Bridgman, the Bridgman book, which I have, we can go through that book and go like hard on it. But I need someone to comment. So comment, let me know if you want it in the comments below. If you do, I'll do an episode on the Bridgman. We'd probably do a couple, but okay. Here's the head, really kind of cool. The way that's sliced up, movable parts. Just showing the range of motion, things like that. Ball and socket, just kind of a neat. I just really like these drawings and kind of like coming up with these photos and breaking them down. So what, something to do is get a magazine, right? Get a magazine. Crap, I don't have one right away. But get like a Shape or HQ or a GQ or whatever. Get a magazine full of photos, or just online. Hell, just go to Google Images and hit woman, hit man, whatever, and look at those drawings, and then break down those photos into these kind of shapes, and that'll help you. In fact, that's what we're doing here, is breaking down the figure. And this is also a way to draw, in comics, there's really two ways to do drawing, right, of the figure, and especially in comics. One is you shoot reference for everything. You either get a person, live action, and you draw them as they're in different positions and different frames. Or you take photographs of them and use those photographs for reference. That's option 1, reference. Option 2 is you come up with it. You, in your mind's eye, draw those. Jack Kirby did not do reference. Mind's eye, he just drew it in his little brain. And how did he do that? Well, there's shapes, and this is where you start coming up with what it would look like. And by breaking things down like this, you can do it. And then here's a way to shows you breaking that down. It's pretty cool. I love this because I love Albert Dorn, and Albert Dorn breaks down this, and he's doing this. Well, they're making it look like he's not using any models here. Now, I don't know if that's the case or not, but let's say he wasn't. Maybe he's like, no, we're just gonna freaking draw this of a guy sitting there and these two artists and the guy. So he just breaks down the shape. Notice he's drawing through it, right? He draws through it, sketches out a little bit more. Now he's putting values, light and shadow, on here, and then he goes to paint it. I bet he used some models, but hell, I don't know. Maybe he didn't. Great stuff though, but that's really kind of a fun thing. Again, we'll see some more. Is this Norman Rockwell? Yeah, this is Rockwell. So here's Rockwell, and you can see, you can do this. Go get a magazine or something, look at some photos, and then you can just break these things down into the shapes and the people, drawing through them, right? Same thing here. I remember doing these actually. The same thing here. Austin Briggs, right? Yeah, Austin Briggs. So as you learn how to break down the figure into its basic parts, it allows you to understand the proportions better. Many lines or few, but the forms are solid. Okay? Very different artist. You've got Rockwell, who puts, to me, an enormous amount of detail and realism in it. Very almost photography-like. Then you have Ben Stahl, or Austin Briggs even, which has a much more of a, we would call this comic book or cartoonish, or, this could be like Alex Toth or somebody, which is very high economy of line. Very few lines. There's Albert Dorn and his very comic book whimsy look, But despite the number of lines, the actual number, you see form. Now, the reason why you see form a lot with her is, first, the foreshadowing is brilliant, but also you have these great cross-contour lines around her waist, so you really get the feel of that waist. Not to get too graphic. I don't mean to, grab onto her butt, but I'm just saying, you get a chance to feel that. Okay. On with more. Great face, by the way. My gosh. Man, it was so good. Gosh, it was good. Okay. This was another cool thing because you get to see all these artists and how they draw this figure. I thought that was cool, man. Same figure. They see this photo of this dude with the hand, and here's these guys, and this is how they'll do it. Robert Fawcett, Harold Von Smith, Austin Briggs, just kind of fun. I thought it was kind of neat just to see, okay, that's how they do it. Kind of a do's and don'ts. And now we've got some images here because they're going to give you some assignments with photography. They'll give you these images here, and here's this lovely lady. And then now, with your paper and pencil, you can then draw these out, and you can kind of create those forms, break those down, right? Same thing with the fella. Fella gets a jock strap. The girl does not. I don't know. That's just the way that is back then. I ain't hating on it. And here's the assignment. So there you go. So that's it. Next episode will be Artistic Anatomy and the Human Figure in Motion. And I don't think have I done this one? I don't know if I've done this one. I think this one might be one I need to work on. I don't know. Either way, I gotta work on it. So that's my next, that's the next lesson. So thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys checking these out. I love these famous artist course, man. If nothing else, even if you don't do them, they're just really cool to like check out the art, you know, stuff like that. So thanks for watching. Have a great one and talk to you later. Bye.